to VidNotes. In today's lesson, we're going to go over lab equipment and just go through the general lab equipment that you'll be using in your science classes. We'll just kind of explain what the purpose for each one is. For today's lesson, you're going to need Note Package B, which you can find on our website under the Notes tab. Some required material, like I mentioned before, Note Package B, and it'd be nice to have a periodic table. It's not mandatory for today's lesson, but it's nice to have, and a pen or pencil. Okay, let's get started. Okay, some general concepts. Lab equipment is an important part of any science course. In this VidNotes presentation, you will learn about lab equipment and what it's used for in science class. So yeah, basically, like I said, all the flasks, different lab equipment you'll be using. It's good to kind of have a general knowledge behind what the purpose for each one is before going to class. That's kind of the purpose of this video, just to kind of give you that general overview of the lab equipment. Okay. First, let's start with the beaker and Erlenmeyer flask. This is a beaker right here. Let me kind of read you what it does. Okay, beakers hold solids or liquids that will not release gas when reacted with other substances, or are unlikely to splatter if heated or stirred. So let me kind of give you a representation here. You see this? You see how it has a wide opening at the top here? If you're mixing something in here, it's very easy for there to be gases that are released, or they're splattered around everywhere. So this type of stuff that you mix in here would be something that wouldn't release the gas or is really unlikely to be splattered. So that's why this has such a wide opening, because it's meant for something like water or something that is sure, it could splatter, but it's not like gonna splatter acid or something on you. So this is kind of the purpose of those flasks. So let's talk about Erlenmeyer, which is right here. Erlenmeyer flasks are used to hold solids or liquids that may release gas during a reaction, or that are unlikely to splatter if heated or stirred. The shape of the glass helps reduce the risk of unwanted splatters, which can cause burns. So let's go back to our representation over here. Let's say you have the same type of liquid in here. As you can see, when you're stirring it, it's highly unlikely that it's going to come all the way from here up here. It still could, but generally speaking, this is a lot safer for mixing stuff like that because of the narrow opening. So you'd mix this type of stuff that you mix in here would probably be something that would maybe release the gas. You don't really know, but just to be safe. And your lab teacher or something would probably tell you this ahead of time. Okay, let's move on. Next, we have the Florence flask and graduated cylinder. So this is a Florence flask right here. Florence flasks are rarely used in junior chemistry courses. It is used for mixing chemicals. The narrow neck prevents unwanted splash or exposure. So this is probably even safer than flask in the Erlenmeyer, because like I said, let's go back to a representation. You had, let's say, another chemical in here. It's extremely unlikely that's going to come all the way up here. So that's kind of the purpose. So if we were to go through what we've done so far, we have the beaker, Erlenmeyer flask, and this guy, the Florence flask. So this is probably something, like I said, is not used in junior chemistry courses, because chances are you're not going to be mixing chemicals that are going to splatter that much, or are like really dangerous for you. But it's possible you might use it. So this is kind of the purpose of this. This is like really just to prevent that from happening. So you could stir it in there, and you could put something at the top here, which we'll talk about later, and it would really just reduce the risk of unwanted splash or exposure. So over here we have a graduated cylinder, and it's basically used to measure volumes. So let's say you had H2O or water in here, for example. You had it up to here. You could read on here and just measure it out. That's kind of the purpose of that, just to get exact measurements of water or whatever liquid you're using. And this isn't for solids, just only liquids. Let's go through this. This is a gas collection bottle. We use a gas collection bottle when large volumes of gases are produced and must be collected by the displacement of water. So if you had an experiment where gases are being produced, you would use this to kind of collect the gases by the displacement of water. This is the rubber stopper. Rubber stoppers are used to close containers or avoid spillage or contamination, and they should never be heated. So basically, let me give you another representation right here. Let's say you had an Erlenmeyer flask, and you had a little stopper at the top here, you wouldn't put this on a hot plate and heat it. Some people would say, oh, it'll heat quicker. No, because a pressure is going to build in here, and if you don't take care, this thing could explode. So it's very dangerous to heat something with a rubber stopper in there. Yeah, I don't see when it'd be useful to use that. Just generally, a general rule of thumb is never heat something with that in there, because like I said, steam can build up in here and it could explode, which could cause a dangerous situation. So, but rubber stoppers are used just to close things that aren't going to be heated. So it's very important that you memorize that, or write it down in your note package or something. You never heat something with a rubber stopper in there. Okay, let's move on. The next one is test tubes and test racks. This is a test tube right here, and this is a test tube rack. That's the test tube, that's the test tube rack. A test tube is a thin glass enclosed at one end. As you can see, it's thin. It's not extremely thin, but it's a small glass, so you should be careful with it. And it's enclosed at one end. Right here is closed, and right here is open. It is used to hold small amounts of material for laboratory testing. So if you were testing a small sample of something, you could put them in test tubes and put them in the racks for different types of experiments. The racks are just basically there to organize things so that you have it nice and evenly spaced, you can label it, that kind of thing. Another thing you should know is, generally speaking, we don't use plastic racks, because you never know what you have in here. It could be something that releases a lot of heat. You don't want the thing to melt to it, so generally speaking, we use wood. And yeah, that's basically what they're used for, just to hold and test different samples of things. Oh yeah, and I have this right here, basically just labeling the test tubes. Next, we have the test tube holder and test tube brushes. A test tube holder is useful for holding test tubes which are too hot to handle. Like I mentioned before, sometimes you do experiments where they release a lot of heat, so it's important to use these test tube holders in that situation. Test tube brushes are used to clean test tubes and graduated cylinders. So this is the brush right here. If you wanted to get in there and clean something that's been stuck there from a different experiment or something, this is what you use. And make sure never to force the large one into, because these come in different sizes, so you always want to make sure you have the right test tube brush for it. Don't try and force it in, because you could break the glass by doing that. It's happened many times, so yeah, try not to do that. Just kind of eye it and look at it and see, oh, this is the right size. If you're not sure, ask your instructor. I'm sure he or she would be happy to tell you which one's the right one, but make sure you don't put the wrong one in, because it could break the test tube. Next, we have a spot plate or a watch glass. This is a spot plate, this is a watch glass. Spot plates are used when you want to perform many small scale reactions at one time. These are used a lot in junior chemistry, so if you wanted to just kind of see, oh, will the color change or something, like just a small scale experiment, as you can see, we have a lot of places to I guess perform small scale reactions, and that's basically what this would be used for, just to perform small scale reactions. And then we have a watch glass right here, which is used to hold small amounts of solids that would basically you'd use in a reaction. So if you wanted to hold some sort of solid. Thank you for watching our free videos available on YouTube. We have two types of memberships. You have a premium membership and you have a free trial membership. If you go to our site right now, you can subscribe to our 7-day free trial membership and watch the remainder of this video absolutely free. And if you like our 7-day free trial membership, you can subscribe to our premium membership, which is $9.95 per month, and that'll give you access to many more videos relating to chemistry, physics, biology, algebra, and many other topics. So yeah, go onto our website and subscribe to our free trial and watch the remainder of this video. And thank you for supporting us. Thanks.